This is really cushy carpet. You wouldn't believe it. Anyways, so today what I'm going to talk to you about is the question of whether our current technology is enhancing our communication or interfering with it. I had an English teacher who told my class that the most important skill that we would ever learn was the skill of communication. And as I've gone on throughout my life, I've come to realize how true those words are. And why is that? It is because it is the most used skill in the world. Everybody in every single country across the globe uses the skill of communication. They do so that they can share their ideas with one another, and others might make their own ideas. It is because of the skill of communication that I'm able to talk to you today. It's because of the skill of communication that these speakers in front of me are able to speak to you today. Thus, I repeat what my English teacher said. Communication is the most important skill you will ever learn. So, how does technology fit into this? Well, technology has changed the way we communicate throughout history. To put in perspective, about 200 years ago, there was no such thing as a telephone. No such device that would allow us to speak into it and have the voice that was recorded heard in another town. Now, we couldn't do that back then, but nowadays, we have these little things called cell phones. Quick show of hands, who has one? Yeah, that's what I figured. By the way, this is Verizon. We're not going to get into a debate about which service is the best, but Verizon rocks. But we'll talk later. But anyways, so we're able to use these devices called cell phones to talk to somebody on the other side of the planet, which I don't know what you guys think, but that's incredible. We weren't able to speak to somebody in another town. Now we're able to speak to somebody on the other side of the globe. So the truth is, things have changed. We're able to communicate on a scale that would have seemed impossible 100 years ago, let alone 200 years ago. But has this change been for the better? And that is the heart of what I'm talking about today. So let's start really quick on what I had mentioned earlier about enhancing communication. Today, society as a whole functions off of electronics that are centered around the idea of communication. You have computers for sending emails. You have telephones for talking to people long distance. Cell phones for talking to people on the go. You have radios for broadcasting your speech to thousands of people. You have televisions for giving both a visual and an audible message. And the list goes on and on. These pieces of technology have allowed us to communicate ideas to thousands of people in a matter of seconds. And so this technology has allowed us to communicate faster and at a greater distance than ever before. So let me give a quick example. Let's say I wanted to tell you guys that the apple I bought was purple. Yes, that's a little outrageous, but I wanted to tell you that all the same. I could take my phone here, text that in, and send it to anybody in this room, and you would understand it. Everybody in this room would be able to get that piece of information. You wouldn't even have to see me, and you could understand what I was trying to say. So in this way, our technology seems to be enhancing our ability to communicate. Now, let's go to the other side, the interfering with our communication. And to explain that, I'm going to have to briefly talk about the two parts of communication, at least from the sending side. And they are the content and the manner, or in other words, the what you're trying to communicate and the how you're trying to communicate it. This is important to know because our technology seems to be affecting primarily one of these, which is the how of communication. Let me give an example. Up here, if we could switch to the next slide really quick, whoever's controlling that. Thank you. Up here is a written text, and I'm going to read it to you as it is up here. In saying this sentence, you will find it very hard to take me seriously. Could we go back to that, please? Thank you. The content of what's trying to be said is there. I wrote down exactly what I was trying to say, but something seems to be missing from it. Something seems to be lacking from it, and that something is the how of communication. So how do we get that back? Well, now I'm going to say this sentence as I intended it to be said. So, And now we have the how of communication. And saying it in that outrageous voice, and yes, it was outrageous, you are able to understand that what I was saying wasn't meant to be serious. It was meant to be a joke. I was kidding. So my point is, I could have sent this text to anybody in this room, but part of what I was trying to communicate would be lost. The how of communication is not there, so you guys wouldn't have understood what I was trying to say. If you still don't believe me, let me quickly bring it into a more realistic example. You've all probably done this. You've sent a text to somebody, and they have misunderstood it. So let's say somebody just did a great piano concert, and they just did it perfectly. And you send them a text saying, "You did absolutely horrible. I saw no effort in that at all." Chances are they're going to take that offensively. I don't know about you, but they're going to take that offensively. So now let's rewind the clock, and this time we're going to, instead of texting them that information, you're going to actually say it to them. And so now you actually walk up to them and you go, "You did absolutely horrible, man. I saw no effort in that at all." Now they're going to realize that you're kidding. Now they're going to understand what you're trying to say to them. It's more of an encouragement than it is a put-down, because you included not only the what of communication, but the how of communication. And you need to have those two to be an effective communicator. So why am I even talking about this? Why am I even talking about technology and communication with our theme, kids these days? Well, the answer goes back to what I talked about earlier. Communication applies to us all. We all communicate. Most of us use technology. From a show of hands that I saw, a lot of us have cell phones, and that's just one of the small electronics that is centered around communication. We communicate daily, and this subject, like I said, relates to us all. So our future will depend upon how well we are able to communicate to one another. But my original question still remains. Is our technology enhancing our ability to communicate or interfering with it? And that is where I'll leave you. You guys get to make the decision. Is it one side? Is it the other side? Is it both? Or is there some other side that we never even talked about? I just presented two sides, so now you get to decide. I hope I was able to communicate my idea to you guys, and I hope you guys enjoy the rest of TEDx. Thank you.